Good morning, class. My name is Miss Albrecht, and today we'll be going over a lesson called Order of Operations. And what we do is we actually use this little term here, and it's called Please Excuse My Dear Aunt Sally. And what this does, it helps all these students doing these math steps to get all the same answer, okay? So first, with the Please Excuse My Dear Aunt Sally, we're going to start with parentheses. That will be the first step, and the parentheses are just the two little round brackets here. So the first step we're going to do is find the parentheses. The next is going to be the E for exponent. Now we will not be going over exponents this year in class. You'll learn that later on in the next couple of grades, but it is very important to know the order of these the order of Please Excuse My Dear Aunt Sally. So we were not going to go over the exponents because you'll learn that later on in the next couple of years, but it is very important to remember where that exponent does lie in the order of operations. The next one will be the multiplication, and then the division, addition, and then lastly subtraction. Now with the multiplication and the division, you'll move from left to right for the math problems as well as the addition and subtraction, and I'll show you later on when we do the practice problems, we're going to be working from left to right with those. Okay, so again, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. This will help you remember the rules and the order of the operations as we do these math steps. Okay, so next I'm going to put some problems on the board and we'll walk through them together. Okay, so the first one is going to be so the first one is going to be 10 times 3 in the parentheses, and then plus 16, which is outside the parentheses, and we're going to get equals what number. So now, as we look at the order of operations, or the Please Excuse My Dear Aunt Sally, the first one is going to be find the parentheses first. So on this step here, you can see that 10 times 3 is in the parentheses. That will be the first step, okay? So 10 times 3 is, yes, 30. So we're going to bring that down here, 30. Now, if the order of operations, if the step is not in the math problem, you skip it and go down to the next one, okay? So obviously we don't see there's an exponent. We don't see any other multiplication problems. We don't see any division problems, but there is an addition problem. So what we're going to do is bring down that 16. So it'll be 30 plus 16 equals, and that will be our final step, is 30 plus 16 equals 46. That will be our first problem there, our first answer there. If you have any questions, definitely let me know throughout the problems, but if you don't have any questions on, we'll move on to the next problem. So again, just work it step by step. Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. This will be left on the board in our classroom for you to use as reference when we do our other math problems. Again, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. Don't ever forget that. It's much easier to do your order of operations and any math problems that you come across, okay? The next problem is all right, our next problem is 8 plus 7 times 4 equals what? Now, as you go through our steps, our order of operations, we can see that there are no parentheses. We can go ahead and skip that step. No exponent, we can go ahead and skip that step. And then we do see a multiplication problem right there at the end. 7 times 4 will be the first step we do. So 7 times 4 equals the 28. Now, there's no division problem, so we go ahead and skip that one. And then we go ahead and straight on to the addition problem. So we'll do the addition. Bring down the 8 plus 28 equals 36. And that'll be our first answer here. Now, the one thing I do want to go over is that if you do not follow the Please Excuse My Dear Aunt Sally, you will actually get a new answer, and we'll have to count that wrong because it wasn't the correct order of operation. So we're going to go through that real quick. Now with using the same problem, if we do the 8 plus 7, so 8 plus 7 is, yes, 15. So we'll do up here, 8 plus 7 equals 15. And then the next step, 15 times 4. So 15, the 8 plus 7 is 15 times 4. And what does that give you? Yes, that gives you it's an answer of 60. And that is definitely not the answer we got using the please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. So any practice problems, homework problems, quiz or test problems, if this is not followed, you will definitely get a different answer, and we will count that wrong on your homework or question or on your test. So make sure you do follow the please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. Again, this will be left out on the board, so you'll have it as reference. Make sure to write this down in your notebook so you have it for problems that you do for homework as well. But again, see the same problem, we get two different answers. The correct answer we got was 36, and the wrong answer we did get was 60. So it is very important for the students, for y'all to remember, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. All right, so the last one we're going to do, and then I'll have you work on some problems on your own. This will be right, so this one's a little bit tricky. Now you see two sets of parentheses, correct? Now with the rule with the parentheses, you're going to work in towards the outer rings. So you'll do the inner rings first and then work out towards the outer rings, whatever is in parentheses. So as you see here, we'll do the inner rings first. The 5 plus 2 will be first since it's inner from these outer rings here. So 5 plus 2 is 7. And then these are still in the parentheses, so 7 times 8. We'll leave those in parentheses since we have not got rid of those yet. And then we still have the divide by 4. So 7 times 8 divided by 4. So 7 times 8, of course. Put that here. 56. And we did get rid of those parentheses, and then we'll go ahead and do divide by 4. Again, no multiplication. There is a division, so 56 divided by 4, of course, is 14, and that will be our answer. No addition, no subtraction, so there's no need to go any further with these numbers since you got all the steps mastered right there. Okay? Are there any questions so far with this lesson? No? Okay, so I'm going to give you 3 problems to do on your own. I'll go ahead and write these on the board. I will give you 15 minutes. And let me write these on the board and I will tell y'all when to begin. Last one, put it right down here. All right, I will give you 15 minutes to work out these problems here, beginning now. All right, so your 15 minutes are up. Let's go ahead and review all these, and I'll make sure that I did walk around while you're doing it. Looks like most of y'all didn't have any issues or problems. If you have any questions, if you do get it wrong, we'll go over and see which ones we had trouble with, okay? So the first one is 50 minus 12 times 3. So what we do first is, remember, there's no parentheses, no exponent, but we do see a multiplication, and we'll do that first, okay? So the 12 times 3 will be the 36. And then you bring down the 50. So 50 minus 36. There's no division, there's no addition, and the last step will be the subtraction. So 50 minus 36 is the answer of 14. So that is the answer to number 1. How many students did get that right? Great job. All right, so now we're going to the second step here, or the second problem. And again, what is our first order of operation? It is the parentheses. So you find the parentheses first. 20 minus 13, that is what we're going to do first. 20 minus 13, of course, is 7. And of course, we're going to bring this down. So we got rid of the parentheses. There's no exponent, there's no multiplication, and there is a division. So you bring down that 42. 42 divided by 7 is, of course, yes, 6 is 6. So 6 is the answer to the number 2 problem. How many of the students, do y'all feel comfortable doing these, or how do you feel? Any other problems or any questions as far as the steps or the order of operations? No? Good. Okay, so we're going to do our last problem. This one might be tough because it did have the 2 parentheses. And what is the rule for the parentheses? Yes, working inner to outer. All right, so the last step here, or the last problem that we have here, is 110 divided by 10 in parentheses, and then plus 8 in the outer parentheses, and then minus 3 equals what? So now the first step, again, inner parentheses, 110 divided by 10 is 11. And we got rid of those parentheses, but we still have the outer parentheses to work. So that one's the first one. That is the second set. Now, 11 plus 8 is what? Correct, 19. So we're going to put 19. We'll put it right over here. 19, and then we're going to bring that minus 3. That's the last step. No multiplication, no division, no addition, and the last thing is minus 3 equals, and our answer is 16. All right. Any questions on that one? All right, so remember, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. For parentheses, we work inner parentheses to the outer parentheses. For our problems this year, we will not have any exponents, but it is very important to remember that the rule or the order of the operations. Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. So in future problems, in the next coming years, when you'll get into the exponents, you'll have an additional step to remember, an additional step to look over when you have those problems, okay? Now, and just always remember, when working these problems, you always want to do, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. You saw in our previous problem, our practice problem, that we got 2 different answers. One was 36 and one was 60 for the same exact problem. But make sure you use, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally, so we can get the correct answer and I won't have to mark it wrong on your test or homework. So tonight, I want you to go home, look over your math book, and I want you to do all the even numbers, all the even problems on the order of operations. And I want you to go over them, do all the even numbers, bring them in tomorrow. And I want y'all to make sure y'all can tell me, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally, and what each of those mean to you, okay? So today we learned order of operations. If y'all have any questions after class, please come up to me. And then tomorrow we'll get started and we'll have a little quiz and we'll go over them again. And just to make sure you don't remember, or please remember, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. Thank you.